All right, what's up, y'all? Let's talk a little bit about the first man on earth and the first woman on earth. You know, a lot of people say Adam was the first man on earth and Eve was the first woman on earth. But when I'm reading the book, I don't see that. You know, people like to focus on what race they was and all of this crazy stuff and how we came from this and how we came from that. We came from a variety of things. And, you know, God put multiple people on earth at the same time. So the thing about it is we got to start paying attention. We got to stop just letting a person just tell us what it is and then we just roll with it. You sitting there reading it and you still just fall into whatever somebody told you before. You know, it's bad. And it's bad that these pastors keep on doing the same thing to you. And then people go around and disregard the Old Testament. You know why they disregard the Old Testament? Because the Old Testament was facts and in chronological order. And then they say, you know, well, the New Testament updated that. The New Testament can't override the Old Testament because the Old Testament come from God. The New Testament come from man. And then they try to use the New Testament the way it was designed and say the Old Testament was the same. The New Testament was designed the way it is in pieces and jumps around because that was men's perception. That was men's experience. Humans. The Old Testament, that's God all lined up in order of the events that was occurring in this world. The New Testament is the same events over and over told by different people. So let's jump back to this first man on earth thing. So if you read Genesis chapter 26 through 31, it tells you the first people. And then if you jump down to chapter 2, and that's start at verse 6, that tells you when Adam was created. So let's go back to chapter 1, verse 26, and I'll read to you. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion. You hear that? Them. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that cometh upon the earth. And let's check out this next verse, verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. So as I told y'all before, when you say man, you're talking about men and women, male and female. And if you read later in the book, Adam is the one that named them man and woman, not God. God said this, chapter 1, verse 27. God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. So stop getting that mixed up like Adam was the first one on the earth and Eve was the first woman and it was just them two. There was many. Them means more than one. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon earth. So God told them to be fruitful and multiply. So for those pastors and people that tell you that the tree that Adam and Eve ate from had anything to do with sexual prowess, they lying. They just making up something. God just said he put these people here and said, be fruitful and multiply. How do you be fruitful and multiply? You have sex and you have a baby. You know, so don't listen to these people telling you these fairy tales. It was 2 trees in the Garden of Eden. The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The tree of knowledge of good and evil is the one they ate from. the tree of life is the one that God avoided them eating from. We got to pay attention to this stuff. It's flat out right there. It's there. And we just like avoiding it and listening to these old folk tales and falling for the nonsense. Let's get back into this Bible. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of all of the earth, and every tree, in which is fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be meat for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So on the sixth day is when God made man, which we know now is male and female. So then we jump down to chapter 2, from chapter 1, where we was at, and we go to verse 6. But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. I mean, come on now. I just told you that. We got to stop playing ourselves and just going for nonsense. And so when you think about it, the other thing about it, when we think about Adam and Eve getting kicked out the garden and having children, which was Cain and Abel, was their first kids. And, you know, Cain killing Abel. What happened? God kicked Cain out of wherever he moved Adam and Eve. So they were still in a protected space when they got kicked out the Garden of Eden. Because guess what? When Cain got kicked out and had to roam and become a vagabond, he was worried about somebody murdering him. So if Adam and Eve was the only people here, and then they bear Cain and Abel, who was going to murder Cain? Who was he worried about? Who was he scared of? And who did God say? Who was God talking about when they said if they do something to Cain, they would get that sevenfold? Come on, people. I know you don't want me to bring this up and talk about it in this manner because you're used to what you're used to. Some people, they didn't live their whole life, they 70s, 80s, 90s, off of this knowledge because that's what the church told them. But I'm a church. You a church. We're a congregation. And I'm telling you the truth. I'm bringing the words to you. I'm not up here entertaining and just telling you something that sounds sweet and trying to make it sound convincing. I want to save your soul. I want your soul to be all right. I don't want you to die and thinking that you was doing the right thing and be punished for the complete wrong thing. I don't want you to be involuntarily blaspheming. I don't want you to ruin yourself. This is why I'm doing this. You know, I've been kind of held up from it and pushed away from it and twisted and all kind of stuff. But I'm here now. And I'm starting from the first book. I'm starting from the beginning. And we're going to work our way through this. The Old Testament is a very interesting book. And I'm going to show you why I said the devil got a job and he worked for God. And I'm going to show you why God is everything. What we call bad, he's good and bad, good and evil, everything. And you choose to overlook it. But when we get into these books, you're going to see thing after thing. God is just the Almighty. And we have to be taught life lessons through pain. That's when we remember it the most. When it's nice and good, a lot of us tend not to appreciate that. We appreciate getting hurt. That's how we grow. So let's continue to meet up and get this thing done. Save your soul so you can save somebody else's. This is the B Long Show, Young Humanitarian Style. Have a good evening.